Welcome to the Simply Pediatrics Podcast, simplifying holistic healthcare for infants and children. We're so glad you're here. Join Jennifer Zethner, holistic pediatric nurse practitioner and holistic mom of 3 on a mission. Listen in as she shares the answers to the most asked questions from parents in her practice every day and offers parents practical strategies and actionable steps to support their child's health and well-being. Enjoy this insightful episode of the Simply Pediatrics Podcast and stay tuned for more information at the end of the podcast.
Hi, I'm Jennie Zethner. That's right, I'm here in my car. I don't know about the rest of you, but I find sitting in my car to be very peaceful. It happens to be one of the quietest places I have in my life. I have 3 children. I work full time. I'm busy like the rest of you, and I really would like to share information, and doing it from my car is most convenient. So I'm going to ask you to please forgive if there's any commotion behind me, any beeping, any dogs barking, ambulances, fire trucks, etc. I'll do the best I can to find quiet places. I assure you I will never be driving my vehicle when I speak to you. I will always be pulled over and parked. I am typically parked waiting for one of my children to come out of an event or something. So that is what I'm doing with my time here. And I look forward to sharing information with you. And again, forgive me for being a little unprofessional being here in my car, but I hope it works. And with that, let's get started.
Today's episode, screens over the age of 12.
Hi and welcome. I'm so happy to be here with you today, talking about screens. I'm going to be talking about screens a lot. I'm focusing right now on our children that are like 11 years and up. All right, 11 years and up. I really don't recommend any use of screens. 0 use is a recommendation I give for families who have children under the age of 12. Just none. I don't see any purpose for it in the home for children to have at all. Now, once our children are reaching that 11, 12 year mark, for our girls, it's usually 11, for the boys, usually 12. We're talking about an age where now we're socializing, and really around that age, 11, 12, we should really be able to reach out to our own friends, make our own arrangements. No longer called play dates at that age, right? Make our own arrangements with our friends to get together, all right? And, back in my day, we would just, go knock on someone's door or give them a call on the phone. All right. I know that that's not what we're doing anymore. We're sending a text or they're FaceTiming each other and they're using their phones to communicate with their peers. In fact, during the pandemic, the families that I had that, really were strict and weren't allowing their children at all to use iPhones, iPads, even those that were older, 11, 12, 13, what I saw for those children is that they had like a little bit of depression because they really were like really not connected with their peers. And that was kind of like an aha moment for me where I said, you know what, really need to offer a little bit more guidance for families. And that, once they reach that age there, allowing them some sort of device that they can stay, in communication with their peers via text, via phone call. And what does that look like? All right. So there's a lot of different devices out there. Don't ask me for the names of different devices. That's not really my thing. I can tell you there's something called the light phone, and there's other devices that you can buy that just allow the user to text and make phone calls. So there's that kind of device. And then there's, of course, our iPhones and Androids. And, those devices are a whole world, right? We all know that. They're a whole world unto themselves. We have access to everything in the world. And that's not what we want for our young, 11, 12 and over children. You want them to be able to make a text, make a phone call. And so the devices, I'm most familiar with an iPhone. So I'm going to refer to an iPhone. But really, when I say iPhone, I do mean like any iPhone or Android device. So you can dumb down these devices if you're thinking about getting your child one, or if they already have one and you feel like it's getting away from you, which happens in an instant because they are addictive. These devices are very addictive. They're made to be addictive. They release chemicals into the brains like immediately that give like all sorts of like good feelings. And so the apps and the social media are addictive for, children and adults. And that's what we don't want our kids on. So if you want your child to have a device and just be able to use it for texting and phone calls, there's something called Dumb Down an iPhone. Google it. I'm not your tech, person for sure, but Google it. You can dumb down an iPhone and strip it kind of all the way down to bare bones. So it's just like a phone. You can make phone calls. You can text. I think you can definitely still do FaceTime, and you can make phone calls. And then if there's specific apps that you want your child to have there for whatever reason, for school or whatever, you can have those on there, right? So there's like, if your child's going to have a device, I would prefer that they don't have an iPhone or an Android. So perhaps one of those devices that just text and make phone calls. Keep all of our electronic use. So for school, science, art, etc. I mean, you do that on a computer, not a device that we're holding and walking around and using everywhere. Do it on a computer that's like in a stationary area in your home. All right. If you are allowing your child to have that iPhone and you're dumbing it down, but you still have a few apps on there for them, the second layer of kind of advice I give to families is make sure they know this is not a private space. All right. It is not a private space for our kids. Let them know from a young age that anything that they look at, any messages they send, any pictures they take, any pictures they send to others is not private, right? You're looking at it. On the other end, somebody else's mom, dad, brother is looking at it. If we teach our children at a young age that this device that you're using is not private, they're less likely to get themselves into any kind of trouble. Let's be honest. Kids, teenagers especially, might send pictures, might use words that they might not ordinarily say face to face. Happens all the time. Bullying on the iPhone happens all the time. So at a young age, let them know that this is not a private space, right? Anything that you're writing, someone else is looking at. Is that altogether accurate? Maybe not. Are we scaring them unnecessarily? No, because it's not a private space. These devices belong to you. I have this conversation often with my teenagers who, especially like the older 16, 17, they can really get themselves into some trouble because, now we're talking about, 16, 17, they're in relationships. They have, peer groups and group chats and things circulate. We hear about it all the time. A picture that kind of got out and got circulated and all those kids got into trouble. So really important. And any social media, if your child is on social media, I don't recommend it, but if they are on there, let them know this is not a private space. I know Snapchat, you send a picture, it disappears. It doesn't. We all know that people can take pictures of that. So, keep your children safe. Our over 12-year-old kids, right? The layers here are, don't even give them an iPhone or an Android to start with. Just give them a device that they can text and make phone calls. If you've already entered into that area where they have an Android or an iPhone, dumb down that device, strip it of all of the social media and the apps that you don't want your kid on that are addictive, right? If your child is already on the device and already on the social media and you kind of trust them, well, you know what? Another layer of safety is to remind them that it's not a private space, right? Anything that they're looking at, any message that they're sending aren't private. So kind of like layers of like education and security really for our kids. The bottom line is that these devices are brand new. And we have a whole generation of kids that are just growing up with these devices. And only over time are we really gonna know what the effects are to their mental health, never mind the radiation exposure to their bodies. I mean, nobody's even talking about that anymore. I mean, you hardly even hear people even concerned about it. Kids are just keeping it in their pocket. They're keeping it by their head when they sleep. No. This is a giant experiment that we're doing here. So, you're not alone. If you feel like it's excessive, that your child is using the device too much, you're right. They are. And the other parents feel the same way. So put some stricter rules into place for your kids from the get-go before it gets away from you. They're addictive devices, and we really want to cut down on their use so that we can protect our kids. This will be something that in 20, 30 years we look back on and say, whoa, what did we do right there to that whole generation of children? We really sort of we took away a lot of their youth because instead of living life, they were sitting around watching life. And I could go on and on. This topic is near and dear to my heart. I feel really passionately about protecting our kids and limiting their use of screens from the beginning. So, all right, that's it for today. Remember how the health of our children and parenting of our children is a journey, and you're doing an amazing job staying curious, staying knowledgeable. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you for joining Jennie on the Simply Pediatrics Podcast. We hope that the valuable information she shared in this episode will inspire and empower you on your holistic parenting journey. If you would like to learn more about Jennie, her Simply Pediatrics practice, or anything that she spoke about today, please check the show notes that accompany this podcast and you'll find all the links and resources you need. You can also sign up for the Simply Pediatrics mailing list so that you receive Jennie's weekly newsletters packed with vital information and holistic parenting journeys. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please consider giving this page a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any episodes. And don't forget to connect with us by sharing your thoughts in the comments section below. Follow Simply Pediatrics on any and all of the social media platforms. And if you're interested in an in-person or a virtual appointment with Jennie, please see the contact details in the show notes. Stay tuned for more episodes packed with a wealth of powerful information to support you on your holistic parenting path. See you next time.